I'm Giriraj Amarnath from the International Water Management Institute. Very happy to be seeing you, all of you. I know it's a quite a noisy place here. Please use your headphone, which is available to you. It has both the English, Spanish, and French. So you can use whichever language you want for any translation purpose. So this session is about solar energy for climate resilient agriculture, accelerating South collaboration for scaling and inclusive farmers. We would be very glad to have you for this important session. What we are looking at the twin challenges. One side we see the issues of climate change. The other, many countries are moving into the energy transition. So this particular session is to leverage solar potential and how we can specifically focus on optimizing use of energy for better crop, but also importantly looking at optimizing their values of water efficiency as we go forward. So my colleagues unfortunately are not here. They are my colleague Dr. Darshani, who is leading this program, Dr. Vidisha Samarakon, who would provide the closing remarks of this session, and many other panel experts who are here to provide their perspective from the private sector, academic, and the research institution point of view. What we are going to see in the next 1 hour is to learning platform of the South-South focus, both in South Asia and in Africa, which is a program funded by Swiss Development Cooperation by the STC. We are very happy to have their collaboration and support for this important initiative. You are going to also see showcasing financing model that the solar irrigation program, this particular project has led. And lastly, you are also going to listen more from the experts in terms of what you can learn from this important initiative. So what I would like to first offer is to showcase the project initiative, what we have. May I request the organizer to show the film? Would you mind showing the first film of that? And then we will have welcome remarks. You will need to use the headphone.
There are approximately 25 million diesel and electrical pumps in South Asia, generating around 7% of global carbon emissions. To meet the crucial target of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, countries must reduce greenhouse gas emissions across all sectors, notably agriculture. International Water Management Institute, IMI, is working in Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and Pakistan to support national commitments of reducing emissions from agriculture. Through a project supported by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, IMI is promoting solar-powered irrigation, working closely with farmers and other groups for a sustainable and climate-resilient agrarian future.
আর বর্তমানে আমরা যেভাবে আমরা পানি নেই সোলার পাম্প দিয়ে, এটা অনেক এখন সময়ের দিক থেকে অনেকটা এগিয়ে আছে এবং আমরা এটাতে খুব সিম্পলভাবে পানি নিতে পারি। যেমন আমরা স্বামী স্ত্রী দুইজন চাষাবাদে কাজ করি, এখানে আমার এখন আর থাকা লাগে না, কিন্তু আগে আমাকে থাকা লাগতো, কারণ মেশিন আনা নেওয়ার কাজে আমাকে সাহায্য করা লাগতো। আর বর্তমানে আমি অন্য একটা কাজ করি, শিক্ষকতার কাজ করছি, আর আমার স্বামী বাড়িতে এসে কৃষিকাজ দেখাশোনা করে, যেটা তার পক্ষে খুবই সম্ভব হয়েছে।
મારી વાડી પરમિશિયામાં આવેલી છે, સોલાર પેનલ લગાવેલી છે સરકાર તરફથી, એટલે એમાં અમારે લાભ મળ્યો છે। દિવસે 6:30 લાઇટ આવે છે, 6:30 સાંજે જાય છે, એટલે એ પાવર 12 કલાક આવે છે। 19 પહેલાં અમારે ફાયદે એમાં રાતે 8 કલાક લાઇટ આવતી અને દિવસે 8 કલાક આવતી, અઠવાડિયે 8 કલાક આવે, અઠવાડિયે નાઇટમાં આવતી 8-8 કલાક, એટલે એમાં એ ફાયદા અમને, અને પાછા ઘડીએ ઘડીએ ઝટકા આવતા, પાણી પૂરું પોગતું નહોતું, પીતું નહોતું.
Following experiences with solar irrigation pumps in India, IMI has applied the insights on a pilot in Nepal. Net metering for grid-connected solar irrigation has been signed in Nepal in the year 2024.
पहले ना अपना रहा, जब से सोलर हलल नु, जब से बहुत आमदनी हो गई, ढेर आमदनी हो गई। कोई के सोलार हलल बा, खेती रहती, तरकारी सब्जी सब होता, बटन दबाई बस शुरू हो जाई, बटन दब दिया बंद हो जाई, चालू हो जाई। बहुत फायदा बा ये सोलार से।
IMI was successful in signing a document making an agreement between Saurya Urja Krishak Samuh and Nepal Electricity Authority.
ये सबसे जो आसान भी है और मुफ्त जो है ना, पानी का कोई खर्च नहीं है इस पे। एक दफ़ा आप खर्च सोलर लगा देते हैं तो उसके बाद आपका पानी फ्री हो जाता है।
Over the past 4 years, IMI has achieved notable results. Capacity building efforts enhance solar irrigation pump programs, fostering climate resilient livelihoods, diversified income sources, increased profits, reduced women's workload, and improved energy outcomes. IMI's impactful research on groundwater and adaptation benefits contributes significantly to global discourse on solar irrigation, highlighting its importance in sustainable water management.
Thank you. I hope you got an overview of what is about the solar irrigation program led by International Water Management Institute and supported by the SDC. Now, at this point, I would like to invite Ms. Mirdula Dikshit Bardawaj, Program Lead, Green Hydrology Storage and Solar E-Mobility from the International Solar Alliance, to provide the welcome remarks. Over to you.
Thank you, Girirajji, and welcome all of you to the ISA Pavilion. So I'm just going to mention a few points about ISA strategy for scaling solar applications in agriculture. And agriculture remains, as you know, the backbone of rural economies across ISA member countries. Yet it faces persistent challenges related to energy access, productivity, can you hear me? And sustainability. Now, traditional energy solutions, primarily diesel pumps and grid electricity, are often unreliable, expensive, and environmentally harmful, as we all know. Solar energy offers a transformative opportunity to address these challenges by providing clean, affordable, and decentralized power for agricultural operations. And this strategy outlines ISA's approach to scaling solar applications for agriculture, ensuring food security, farmer prosperity, and climate resilience. Now, why solar for agriculture? So there are few points for that. The energy demand in agriculture, for instance. Now, irrigation, agro-processing, and cold storage are energy intensive, as we know. They are energy intensive activities. And in many regions, farmers rely on diesel pumps or erratic grid supply, leading to high cost and crop losses. And we all are aware of that. The second reason is environmental imperatives. Now, agriculture contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions. Transitioning to solar powered solutions reduces carbon footprints and aligns with global climate commitments. And the point number 3 is economic benefits. And we are very well aware of that solar powered systems lower operational costs, improve productivity, and create new income streams for farmers and rural entrepreneurs. Now, what are the strategic objectives of ISA? So I've listed a few points for that. The first is enhance agricultural productivity. This is to provide reliable solar-powered irrigation and processing solutions to increase crop yields and reduce, post-harvest losses, which are quite significant, and we are aware of that. The second objective is promote climate resilience. And this is to replace fossil fuel-based systems with clean energy alternatives to mitigate emissions and adapt to climate variability. The third strategic objective is empower rural communities, and that is to create local jobs through solar value chains and enable energy independence for farmers. And the fourth objective is support global goals. Now, this is to contribute to SDG 7 which is affordable and clean energy, SDG 2, which is zero hunger, and SDG 13, which is climate action. Now, if we talk about the key focus areas, then the key focus areas is solar irrigation pumps, solar powered cold storage and drying units, solar mini grids for agro processing, and irrigation with smart agriculture. These are the key focus areas. And now, what is the implementation approach? So we go by number one, policy advocacy, and that's a very strong commitments that we have. Work with member governments. As we speak, we have 125 member countries to create enabling policies, subsidies, and incentives for solar adoption in agriculture. The second approach is innovative financing. Mobilize concessional finance, blended finance, and carbon credits to make solar solutions affordable for small farmers. And the third is capacity building, which is to train farmers, and we do it for all our programs. By the way, capacity building is one of our most, important approach. So here we do the training for technicians, entrepreneurs to operate and maintain solar systems, ensuring sustainability. The fourth is technology partnership. This is very important, as we know. Collaborate with manufacturers and innovators to deliver durable, cost-effective solar solutions tailored to agricultural needs. And the last is, and very important, digital platforms. Here we develop digital tools for monitoring, predictive maintenance, and farmer engagement to enhance system reliability. Now, we have different type of business models. For example, the pay as you go, PAYG for individual farmers, community ownership models for shared infrastructure like mini grids and cold storage, public-private partnership, PPP, for large-scale deployment and risk share. Now, what are the expected outcomes? The first one is increased agricultural productivity. It's very obvious, and reduced post-harvest losses. The second is lower energy costs for farmers, improving profitability. Third is job creation in rural areas through solar installation, maintenance, and supply chains. And the fourth and very important one is significant contribution to emission reduction and climate resilience. Now, what is the call for action? So I'll close my remarks by stating that ISA invites member countries, private sector players, and development partners to collaborate in scaling solar applications for agriculture by launching project pipelines, sharing best practices, and mobilizing resources. We can create replicable models that transform rural economies and secure a sustainable future. Thank you very much. And over to you, Girajji. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Mirdula, for outlining the vision and the ambitious mission that the ISA is leading. Very good to see the technology focus, the policy relevance, South-South cooperation that the ISA is leading, and more importantly, also building, fostering partnership and the capacity building, which you have outlined. At this point, we have two important presentation, which we will be very brief. In my opinion, it is pre-recorded. May I request the organizer to share the first presentation, which is led by Dr. Darshini Ravindranath from IMI. She is a research group lead at the International Water Management Institute. Please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Darshini Ravindranath, Research Group Lead at the International Water Management Institute. And today I'll be sharing our learnings and prospects from the Solar Energy for Agricultural Resilience Program, or SOLAR, which looks at how solarizing agriculture can contribute to both climate resilience and sustainable livelihoods while reducing GHG emissions. This presentation draws from our work across South Asia, with emerging lessons now being extended to East Africa as well. Agriculture remains the backbone of livelihoods in much of the global South. Yet it's one of the most vulnerable sectors to climate change. Rising temperatures, erratic rainfall, and growing water stress directly affect the livelihood of millions. In South Asia, agriculture contributes to between 11% of total regional emissions, and much of this is from groundwater pumping for irrigation. If India alone, for example, converted its 20.5 million pumps to solar, we could cut 45 to 62 million metric tons of carbon emissions. That's a massive mitigation potential. And we can do this while improving access to energy for women and marginal farmers. There is massive potential in transitioning to solar powered irrigation. A lot of governments in South Asia are noticing, not just South Asia, but beyond, across the global South, are noticing that the transition to solar powered irrigation could offer huge potential. It offers dual benefits. It improves water and food security. It reduces fossil fuel dependence, and it provides energy security. The co-benefits extend beyond emissions, reducing fuel imports, improving air quality, and helping countries meet their climate targets or NDCs. However, scaling solar irrigation isn't just about the technology. It depends on supportive policies, it depends on financing, infrastructure, and especially governance, sustainable and good governance of water, and particularly groundwater resources. South Asia has enormous solar energy potential, but so do many parts of the global South. Replacing diesel or dirty pumps with solar irrigation pumps is therefore a huge viable strategy beyond just South Asia and into other parts of the global South. Solar PV potential is not just technically high, but it's increasingly cost competitive as well. For irrigation applications, this means solar pumps can run for many hours, they can reduce reliance on diesel, and in some cases even feed excess electricity back to mini grids, enhancing the value proposition. But again, like I said, high solar potential alone and cost effectiveness alone doesn't guarantee sustainable outcomes. Infrastructure, finance, governance must also align. So the solar program was founded to unpack some of these intricacies of better understanding solar irrigation for scaling. The program is funded by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, and it aims to generate robust empirical evidence to design climate resilient, gender equitable, and socially inclusive solar irrigation policies. We focus the program on three main areas: testing innovative strategies for sustainable scaling, building national and regional capacities, and informing evidence-based policies to enhance resilience and equity. Our ultimate goal is to help countries move towards low-carbon, water-smart agricultural systems. I'll go into sort of some of the country-specific impacts, but overall, we've had some really strong evidence and policy advocacy that we've been able to generate through this program. We've been able to show gender inclusive solar irrigation policies. We've looked at innovative financing models. We've demonstrated through evidence that it is possible to have sustainable climate resilient agriculture while scaling solar irrigation at the same time. We've also piloted grid connected solar irrigation in a number of places, first of its kind pilots in some countries. And importantly, our capacity building and knowledge sharing has had the most impact. We've always ensured that it's inclusive, and we've been able to strengthen the technical skill set and general awareness on solar irrigation in all of our project countries. I forgot to say that the project is active in 4 countries, India, Pakistan, Nepal, and Bangladesh in phase 1. So through partnerships with governments, we've been able to influence solar irrigation policies in several South Asian countries. For example, our impact assessments show that solar irrigation can help farmers adapt to rainfall variability without increasing groundwater depletion. We've also piloted grid integration models where farmers can sell excess solar power back to the grid, creating new income opportunities and improving system efficiency. Gender inclusion and community ownership have been critical, especially through targeted capacity building for women and marginal farmers. And the learnings from South Asia, importantly, have begun to influence other regions. For instance, our team supported Bhutan in implementing 2 solar lift irrigation systems with backing from SDC. And these experiences highlight the value of South-South knowledge exchange, adapting successful models to different agroeconomic contexts. Diverse business models, innovation funds, and grid integration pilots are helping make solar irrigation both scalable and inclusive. Very quickly, I want to sort of go through some of our country-specific impacts. In Bangladesh, we were able to do some really interesting work around groundwater sustainability, and the results show no significant difference in water use between solar and diesel irrigation. And hydrological modeling suggests there's minimal regional groundwater impact under these assumptions. We connected, and this is the groundwater sustainability evidence is really quite critical because it comes at a time where solar irrigation has been under a lot of scrutiny for its potential for over exploitation of groundwater. So we were able to show that this is not necessarily the case, and it depends on the context. And in the context in which we studied it, we found that there was no significant difference between groundwater pumping and diesel pumps, pumping from diesel pumps. So in Bangladesh, we also had 7 grid-connected SIPs, which were piloted with ITCOL. They were the first of its kind in its country to enhance the financial sustainability of SIPs. The lessons from these pilots have been instrumental in shaping the design of future investments, with the majority of upcoming SIP investments approved for grid integration. And we got special thank you note from ITCOL to say that it was the evidence that we generated through our work that helped support this kind of scaling. In collaboration with ITCOL, we also support, and DAE, we worked on training modules where we developed on solar pump usage, crop scheduling, water efficient technology, and a number of exchange visits were also held to India and Nepal that facilitated knowledge transfer and learning, particularly on grid integration. We also looked at a study on GESI responsive and groundwater aware financial models. And we found some really interesting case studies of women doing goat farming or floating solar pumps that were being used by women, and the implications of solar irrigation as a women-friendly technology. So in Pakistan, again, groundwater research in Punjab revealed that both SIP and non-SIP farmers had similar cropping patterns, indicating no significant changes in water-intensive practices. Choice experiments were conducted to inform grid integration policies, and an econometric analysis revealed that farmers growing staples and those selling groundwater valued feed-in tariffs more. To conduct 4 training sessions, improving the capacity of farmers and technicians. And the program facilitated a World Bank-funded program review study on solarizing agriculture in Punjab, which developed a groundwater vulnerability index and proposed sustainable financial models. In India, the deployment of SIPs, again, often raises a lot of concerns about groundwater sustainability, and we've generated evidence that shows the effect of grid-connected SIPs on groundwater withdrawal, and our findings suggest that grid-connected SIPs don't necessarily lead to increased groundwater extraction. We also had a number of strong piloted women-led community-based solar business models to build the entrepreneurial capacity of women farmers, enhance irrigation access, and improve agricultural productivity. We tested and implemented 2 models, one the earn first, pay later approach, and another one that requires a 10% upfront cost. And specialized trainings were conducted for both male and female enumerators to better incorporate GESI into data collection. We also looked at evaluating the results from grid-connected SIPs and off-grid SIPs, and one of the things that we found was that adoption is often hindered by risk aversion and capital constraints, and farmers in off-grid SIPs tend to shift towards high-value crops like wheat and isabgol. In Nepal, The first grid-connected solar irrigation pilot was established through a net metering agreement, and we conducted comprehensive needs assessment to develop tailored capacity building training for farmers. For JETSI, our policy reforms with significant progress in supporting women and small-scale farmers. So the AEPC prioritized allocating 1 out of 3 subsidies for women through our work. I think finally, I want to say that solar programs' impact goes beyond field implementation. It's also about changing how policy is informed. So our evidence-guided national programs, it has demonstrated adaptation co-benefits and provided data on emissions reductions. We organized multiple regional and global forums, bringing together policymakers, researchers, and practitioners to share insights and harmonize efforts. For example, grid-connected solar irrigation pilots in Bangladesh and India reduced around 2.8 metric tons of CO2 per system annually. That's tangible climate action in practice. I think importantly, what we will take away from this phase 1 of the program and into phase 2 is that partnerships are at the heart of our approach. So we've had regular consultations with government through national and regional forums that ensure that our research translates into action. We also engage through our country program committees where key stakeholders are involved in all of the key decisions throughout the project lifecycle. And we're also building longer-term systems for data management and decision support so that countries can sustain the learnings from these initiatives beyond the project's lifespan. And as we scale, capacity building and South-South collaboration will remain key enablers for innovation and policy alignment. So looking ahead, solar is expanding to East Africa, specifically Ethiopia and Kenya, alongside ongoing work in South Asia. Under phase 2, which will run from 2025 to 2028, we aim to strengthen the enabling environment for socially inclusive and climate resilient solar systems. The outcomes will be fourfold. We look at evidence-based policy design, climate smart and inclusive financing solutions, enhanced capacity and collaboration across regions, and scaling through living labs and innovative platforms. Ultimately, our vision is to ensure solar agriculture is a cornerstone of climate resilient rural development across many parts of the global south. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have Darshani today due to some non-commitment of availability. So what we will do is we have limited time. Instead of go to the second recorded presentation, we go to the panel session because some of the officials have to go for the negotiation. So let me call upon Dr. V.K. Singh, Director, Central Research Institute for Dryland Agriculture. Please join us. And Ramanshu Ganguly, Associate Director, Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. Please join us. And Dr. Anil Mishra, Chief of the Hydrological System, UNESCO. Please. And Nitin Basi, Fellow of the CEW, Council for Energy, Environment and Water. And last but not least, Bernard Stew, Head Corporate Sustainability, Isan Holding Bearer. Thank you so much for taking the stage. I hope you have seen the landscape of the work international water management is doing, both in South Asia and in Africa. Of course, we might have not worked in all the regions, but we have shown you what the evidences we are trying to bring. It's not just about energy. We are doubling farmers' income in terms of livelihood, production, the overall security, but also optimizing the business models that Dr. Darshani has presented it. So what I would like to go, what we have framed the policy discussion is to bring different segments now. We would like to talk from Dr. V.K. Singh more on the policy perspective. So Dr. V.K. Singh, you have worked with the government system for many years. Now, you know, solar irrigation is a very vital program for governments to leverage financing, but also ensuring smallholder farmers have access to energy. Many of the rural landscape, we do not have a lot of energy potential to grow farmers throughout the year, right? So what I would like to ask you is, what do you see the adoption and scalability? I think India is doing great when it comes to scaling irrigation potential, but it would be also a learning for what participants can learn from you, from the Indian evidences, in terms of major national initiative that the government of India is doing but also looking into how you can blend both the energy and water policy. So over to you now to reflect on both the aspects of the national initiative and how do we bring policy coherence on both energy and the water policy. Over to you.
Thank you very much. In fact, we know that water, uh, this energy and food, these are interlinked. We cannot isolate these things. And a country like India, where is still, after a lot of efforts being done from last 60, 70 years, still we have 50% area lies under rain-fed. And where rain-fed means the cultivation purely depends on the precipitations. And I find there are a lot of scope exists in that region. If you have capturing the precipitation which we receives and we utilize efficiently. In fact, Government of India has launched a mega scheme that we call Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sichai Yojana. The slogan for that scheme is Har Khet Ko Pani, means every field should reach water. And that water cannot reach without efficient energy. So, Prime Minister Krishi Sichai Yojana, PMKSY, is now being linked with the another scheme, Pradhan Mantri Kushum Yojana, PM Kushum Yojana. Kushum Yojana is mainly focused on the solar energy. Solar energy government had launched, and government of India has given 35,000 crore rupees added to this scheme. Though there are other solar schemes was there, but this scheme is particularly for irrigation, linking these irrigation. There are three major aspects of this scheme. One is the supporting to the farmer for having their solar pump. The second part of this scheme is to provide the finance by which they can utilize more efficiently water or through micro irrigation scheme. There is another scheme that we call government micro irrigation sub scheme is there. So these schemes aims to have more efficient utilization of water, more crop per drop. That is another slogan of Government of India. So, and with least energy. In fact, here government has given three major aspects. One is supporting to the farmer for having their own solar pump. The solar pumps having different range, ranging from 0.1 0.5 horsepower to 7.5 horsepower. Accordingly, subsidies are given up to 2.5 lakh rupees. Some are part of this almost 30 to 40% is given by state departments, state government, and 30 to 40% by the central government. So that way, about 80% of total expenditure comes from the government side as a subsidy for this scheme. The second aspect is once they have created the infrastructure, if you have additional solar energy and you have sufficient amount of water that can cater the need of others. So that can be used as a service model. Service model for other farmers, the same amount of water with the efficient use of energy and water can be used. And third is this amount of water can be utilized, this amount of energy which we have captured from the solar, that can be given to grid so that it can be saved and farmers can sell it and it can be utilized for the farmers' benefit. So that way, government is promoting both water efficient use of water and best use of solar energy, and integrating it's become more resilient farming, and that is the actual task which government has adopted in our Paris Agreement. The Indian agriculture should be towards the resilient agriculture, and that way we have to achieve the target of net zero in agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. VK Singh. Um, Let me now hear from you. Saw the policy aspect and the investment is coming, but it's more of 100% what we heard is a public sector. Now, I want to hear from Ramesh Ganguly, particularly to focus on the role of business models that we need to focus from the private sector point of view, because government has certain limitations of scaling that entire potential. So what do you think a viable business model would look like, blending both the energy and the water sector perspective? Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Giriraj, for the question. I think private sector plays a significant role across three aspects. Number one being innovations. So not only in terms of the R&D, the technology that can be brought in, but also the type of business models that could be brought in. Irrigation as a service, pay-as-you-go models. I think that's where private sector could come in. The second point being financing, collaboration or the microfinance institutions coming in and providing that last mile financing support to farmers to take up solar water irrigation. I think that's going to be a critical role that the private sector can pronounce. And the last part is around service delivery. Service delivery, not only in terms of the after sales and the value addition that comes in, but also in terms of digital monitoring. Can the private sector bring in adequate technology to see what kind of impact do we see of the solar water model coming up? So in essence, I think private sector can play the significant role of coming up with like the overall troubleshooting model for this entire piece.
Yeah, just a follow-up question is that, increasingly we are hearing a lot about role of carbon credit. So how do you link that carbon credit with the smallholder farmers, but also bringing the solar irrigation program more sustainably?
So I think where it does come in is carbon credit can provide that adequate incentive for adoption, because at the end it comes in at a space where we do see real-time impact happening. So real-time emission reduction can actually bring in carbon credit. That's where we do see the private sector also coming in, which eventually incentivizes the smallholders to take up a lot of these activities. So it's not just an new shift, but it's also a shift which is being incentivized through the private sector that's going to come in.
Thank you. Let me come back to you. There will be a rapid session for all of you. But let me now go to UNESCO, Dr. Anil Mishra, who is also the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program. What we heard from both the perspective is there is a lot of research and education program is very important among the wide range of national and policy makers. So what is the current ongoing work UNESCO is working on this domain of solar energy and water resource management? There is a need of focus on better technology, measuring water, providing optimized use of groundwater utilization. You guys have also focusing on citizen science involvement. So I would like to hear from this point of side event, what are the key messages you would like to offer?
Thank you very much for having me here. I come from UNESCO's Intergovernmental Hydrological Program Water Science Division. The Intergovernmental Hydrological Program brings hydrology. It's in the 9th phase now, Science for a Water Secure World. So within this 9th phase, which is actually driven by member states, we have water, energy, food nexus is one of the major components in it. Now, before I go and answer this question, water I consider as a hydrologist is the victim of climate change, but also it provides solution. If you consider for mitigation measure, even for water requirement is there for the mitigation. So recently, I'm part of the UN Water. By 2030, clean energy measures requires 900 cubic kilometer of water. So water is a very important component of that. Now, when we talk about clean energy, all the energy system, be it nuclear energy, bioenergy, solar energy, it requires water. So how we use that water particularly, and in the context of IHP, UNESCO's program, we have three frontiers: identify scientific frontiers, and then translate science into application. So through citizen science, climate risk informed decision analysis, with the use of low-cost sensors or 3D printers, we provide or engage citizens in calibrating and validating data. So that's how we engage really to also to create buy-in effect among the citizens.
Yeah.
Now, solar energy is very important component because if we want to reduce our fossil fuel consumption, and the water connects to all the SDGs. So we have indeed education and training program, including use of groundwater resources, sustainable use of groundwater resources. So I would like to invite all of you to visit UNESCO's website, and we have provided training courses on climate risk informed decision analysis to 25 countries, and also why not a case in India. So I would be happy to provide further information.
Thank you, Anil, for that perspective. Now, let me go to Nitin from CEW. You heard some of the evidence from the SDC project that we have focused on, but at the end of the day, the groundwater optimization is very, very critical. Because at the end, it's about doubling the farmers' income, but also looking at how we look at diversification, but the role of groundwater and scaling of the solar irrigation. How do you see, what's the recent evidence we have on that?
Thank you, Giriraj, for having us here. First of all, I must commend the EME's work about, demystifying a lot of the science and the evidence behind what adoption of solar irrigation pumps in general is able to do with the agricultural landscape. And, before I go to your specific question, I think we started with the solar revolution, whether it's Brazil, whether it's India, whether it's Africa, with the idea to decarbonize agriculture sector. Because, at that point of time, agriculture was also one of the major emitter of carbon because of the various processes that happen. But in the process, we also identified that it has a lot of benefit from the adaptation perspective. And that is what, in the presentation given by Darshini, we could see the term climate co-benefits, which means that it is not only mitigation, but the adaptation angle that is very important. Now, if I just want to focus on what is the issue, I mean, if we have good evidence, we know it's a good technology, clean technology, why it is not able to scale up the way it should have been. You look at any country in global south, the scale up for irrigation, water use from the solar perspective is not there. So foremost reason I see is the financing. A lot of the time we expect that the farmers would be, taking care of a part of the investments. Even the Indian program that we have, it's about that 40% of the cost of installing of solar irrigation pump needs to be adopted by farmer. So that actually kind of created a bottleneck because farmer, they are operating on a very tight budgets. They have to keep on circulating the income that they get. So government of India came up with an alternative. They now will be solarizing the entire feeders. So when you solarize the feeder, whatever pump is connected to it automatically gets converted into a solar. So this is a kind of innovations that we need to bring in terms of impact on resource. So one is of course the water, the other is the land side of it. Again, a lot of farmers in the global south, the per capita land holding is very low. They will largely be small and marginal farmers. Now, are they ready to, Yes, it works. Thank you. So are they ready to give away part of their land for installing of solar irrigation pumps? And if not, can, now we have this agrovoltaic system, but that is more suited to the large land holdings. But are they ready to do that? So that is again, one of the reasons of, less adoption of such technology, which is promising. And the last bit, we have tried a lot with the net metering, which means that if farmer is generating any surplus electricity with a solar irrigation pump, that can be supplied to the discom. Now, I visited one of the farm. It needs 3 meters. That is a level of investment that is needed. So 1 meter to measure how much you are withdrawing, another meter which is connected to the grid for you to supply energy, and the third is to supply back the surplus that you have generated. It needs 3 meters. So there are investments, and can we come up with the solutions there? So these are some of the points that I would like to put on board, and happy to take them
Yeah.
forward.
Thanks, Nitin. I think there is a lot to highlight still, including the alternative wet drying method that can also provide optimizing the groundwater utilization. Now let's hear from Bernard. Specifically, you work closely with the communities. So what are the current learnings you have? How is the community perspective in terms of investments? So these are really a technology that we need to invest. So in the case of Government of India, there is an investment from public sector. But what do you see the learning from the communities itself?
Yeah, so maybe the example that I'll draw is really from Malaysia. So there's a project known as RE2, Renewable Energy Rural Electrification, where we actually work with a lot of agriculture farmers, how they can actually look at the nexus between food, water, and energy being quite pivotal. So one of the, I guess, 3 lessons, I guess if I could sort of summarize it, I think the first is really around being context specific. So the community that you work with has got cultures, traditions, practices that have been going on and passed down from generations to generations, right? So just going in and saying that, oh, you want to introduce a new way of doing things, right, may not necessarily be, the immediate response or solution that you're hoping for. You have to engage with them. And with that, I think there's something to be said about building trust with the communities, which is really a new form of currency. If you don't have that, you can forget about everything else. You have pushbacks from communities who, where you're just coming in and say, oh, you have a new novel solution that you want to implement. Whether it works or not, right, is secondary. Can you actually gain the trust within the communities? And that takes time. And maybe the third lesson, I think, is really around capacity building. So there is a lot of knowledge sharing that takes into place. I like, some of the learnings on the presentation earlier around South-South collaboration. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that because we do operate to a certain extent in certain similar geoclimatic conditions. So we can learn very quickly, right, in terms of, failing fast, but also learning and adapting, from those lessons. And I think that those are probably some of the 3 key things that I would say is quite important.
Thank you, Bernard. I think very much on the trust. Once the trust is there, then the investment starts flowing from the community itself, right? So now we have 1 minute rapid session from each one of the speakers. Let me start with Dr. VK Singh. What should be the one single thing that a message for Solar Alliance, but more importantly for the countries in terms of learning, you have very briefly bold ideas that you would like to put forward?
Yeah.
1 minute, very specific 1 minute from each one of you.
Actually, we have to see this energy along with whole production system. What are the production management practices and the use of energy? Then we can have an efficient use of energy and better translation for climate resilience.
Let me hear from Ganguly now. 1 minute, very briefly.
I think, we need to look at energy as a means to accelerate rural transformation and rural livelihoods. And as Sir said, it needs to be looked at as a whole of systems approach. It's not just water, it's not just production, but it's a whole of systems cross-sectoral, which also feeds in health, which also feeds in value chains, which has to be looked at as a complete package to transform rural livelihoods.
Yeah, let me hear from Bernard now. How do we mainstream this whole community learning process? Over to you.
Yeah, I think just building up on some of the lessons, I think we need to take on a systemic perspective and work with various stakeholders, right? So really building trust, right, from a government perspective, what are the policy alignments, all the way down to financiers and bankers, right? Without trust, they're not going to pump in money. And then the communities that are running it also, needs to have a certain degree of trust and level of transparency, right? Measuring matrix that shows that they are committed to actually driving performance. I think these are the sorts of new currency, as I say, that may seem intangible but absolutely critical.
Over to Nitin now.
Yeah, if I have to kind of just say one word, which is very difficult for researchers like us, I already lost 10 seconds. So I would say it's policy coherence, because we are dealing with different resources, different ministries here. We are dealing with Ministry of Agriculture, we are dealing with Ministry of Water, Land Resources, Rural Development, maybe Forest, Energy. So there is a need to bring them on board and try to work together to find a solution which is a win-win situation for everyone.
Thank you. Last but not least, over to Anil. I would specifically want to hear from you, what should be the next generation of capacity building we need to bring together, because there is a diverse stakeholder here. So what should be the capacity building focus we should look into that?
So in terms of capacity building, I think we need to find relevance of what we say, what we do. That means that engage citizens. So citizen science, I would say one word, that will create buy-in effect. We have now means, we have technology, we can learn from citizen with the technology, and we can create, we can validate, and that will create really buy-in effect. They will be the owner of what we do.
Thank you, Anil. While you all notice here, we have a male panelist, everybody here, including myself, but we see an excellent woman session driving this one, because I have to put this session in the last minute. My apologies for that, couldn't able to get the gender balance, but I could see the amazing experts and the participants who are here. I hope Dr. Vidisha has been watching carefully on what all this happening. So let me invite Dr. Vidisha Samarakun for providing the closing remarks. She is a strategic program director for water, climate change and resilience. Over to you.
Yes, actually, I wanted to first of all pull him up for a Manel, but it's very pleasing to me that the audience is pretty much 90% female most. Okay, look, first of all, I found this session extremely fascinating. And I say this with some humility because I'm representing the International Water Management Institute, and a lot of our science and evidence has been presented today by our key researchers. I want to start by thanking all of the speakers today at the panel. Very much enjoyed the very substantive discussions. I also want to acknowledge the support of Ms. Mridula Dixit Bharadwaj in coming in and providing the introduction, and also to our project lead, Dr. Darshini Ravindranath, who has been part of phase 1 implementation and is now taking us into a second phase of the solar project, which now also transcends across into Africa. So thank you to all. Now I have the very hard task of summarizing a very substantive area of work. It's a body of evidence that we are building together. It's so important when we are talking about solar irrigation, for us to really understand that evidence that has been presented today through our project work, and also from the panel and your experiences, really has demonstrated the transformational potential of solar for strengthening climate resilience and supporting inclusive rural development. Solar-powered irrigation pumps provide both a reliable, clean energy alternative to diesel and grid-based systems, and they also reduce greenhouse gas emissions and our dependence on fossil fuels, which is our ultimate aim here. Farmers adopting solar irrigation are reporting higher crop yields, longer growing seasons, and improved incomes. Reliable access to water also is enabling crop diversification, enhanced food security, and greater economic stability. This is what we want to see. this is what we want to, really congratulate ourselves on seeing as a result of our work. We're seeing also over the last decade an extremely rapid uptake of solar technologies with significant progress in solar irrigation and applications. South Asia has emerged as a global leader. We are driven by strong policy support, and we've seen that here by our panel today. And we had in the example of India's largest scale solar pump programs, and in East Africa, countries like Ethiopia and Kenya are advancing very rapidly through innovative pay-as-you-go and blended finance models, supported by public-private partnerships. Really important to this is understanding that despite the promise of what solar irrigation provides, there are several challenges that persist in terms of equity and inclusion, groundwater sustainability, financing and scalability. And today with our panel, we've heard examples of that. Renat, I liked very much what you said about trust building. Nothing is going to work, however, innovative your technology is, if you don't co-create your solutions with the parties that are there to receive it. So very important trust building in terms of ensuring that the full potential of solar irrigation is achieved. It has to be context specific, inclusive, and environmentally sustainable, rooted in evidence, innovation, cross-country collaboration, and I would underscore that with trust. So just to wrap up, I think really important for us to understand that what we're aiming to do with our work on solar at IMI is that we want to promote socially inclusive, climate resilient solar energy for agriculture through research, policy dialogue, and regional partnerships. We want to extend the solar frontier beyond irrigation per se to integrate agrivoltaics, cold storage, and other innovative applications that strengthen livelihoods and build long-term resilience. So with that, I'll close and thank you all very much for attending. For those of you on the panel and those of you behind the scenes that delivered our presentations today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidisha, for this excellent closing remarks. I would not repeat again. Let me call Dr. Vidisha as well as Firdula Dixit to please come over to the dais for the group photo. Please join us.